Today, I'm sharing a few meals I made this week. I've done my best to show a variety of meals. Some of these are classics, and others, well, they're just fun recipes I've wanted to try. Whatever the meal, they are all pretty easy to make, and they're all vegetarian. So I hope I can inspire you to make something nourishing for yourself today. Let's start with a classic breakfast, the yogurt bowl. I usually add some fresh fruit. Here, I have strawberries and blueberries on hand. Then, I'm adding some of my berry oat bars crumbled on top. This recipe is really to show off the oat bars as a topping, and I'll link the recipe in the description box below. Then, I add a drizzle of honey. This is my go-to breakfast. Super easy and simple. For lunch, I'm making a souvlaki-inspired tofu dish. I started off by crumbling some tofu into a bowl. You can also do this with cubed tofu, but I've had too much cubed tofu recently. Then I'm adding a clove of minced garlic, some paprika, dried oregano and thyme, a good bit of cumin, a bit of salt, some freshly ground pepper, a squeeze of lemon juice, and some olive oil. I just use my hands to mix it, and then just dump this onto a baking tray. Then bake this off at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 20 minutes. While the tofu is baking, I'm cutting half a cucumber into quarters, which I'll use for a really easy tzatziki. For the tzatziki, I'm adding cucumbers, some Greek yogurt, dried dill weed, salt, and lemon juice, and giving that a good mix. Then I'm just slicing the rest of the cucumber and some carrots. I chose to use cucumber and carrots because I honestly ran out of other vegetables, so this is what I had to work with. To assemble, I'm plating the tofu souvlaki crumbles and the cucumber and carrot slices. Then I'm scooping some tzatziki into a small bowl and hummus into another small bowl. The hummus I made a few days ago, and I had a lot of extra, which inspired this recipe. And I'm just topping off the hummus with some paprika. To put everything together, I also toasted some pita bread, which is also something I made. All the recipes will be linked below. On to dinner. I'm gonna be making a peanut miso soup with glass noodles. I started off by soaking the glass noodles in some water. Then I'm chopping half a cube of tofu, smashing a clove of garlic, chopping some napa cabbage and bok choy, and thinly slicing some carrots. To a boiling pot of water, I'm adding miso paste and veggies. Then, once the soup boils again, I'm adding the tofu and some of this dried kelp. I'm seasoning with soy sauce, a pinch of salt, pepper, and my favorite ingredient, peanut butter. Once everything is about cooked, I'm throwing in the glass noodles. Give that about 3 to 4 minutes to cook, and then dinner's ready. This is probably one of my favorite meals I've made. It's so easy when you don't want to cook, and personally, it's very comforting. Alright, on to another breakfast idea. This one is my favorite, peanut butter and banana on toast. I made whole wheat bread the other day, so I'm using that. I'm giving it a toast, giving it a generous helping of peanut butter, adding some yogurt for protein, and topping it off with some banana slices. I tried to make it look pretty with the banana slices. Then, I always add some cinnamon and honey for some extra flavor, and as a recent fan of dessert for breakfast, I also had an osmanthus madeleine on the side. But for breakfast, I try to keep it simple. Since I made bread, of course, I also had to have toast for lunch. For this meal, I'm making a hummus and avocado toast. I wanted to do smashed chickpeas, but since I meal prepped hummus, I'm using that. So I start off by cutting half an avocado. Then to a slice of toast, I'm adding the avocado and giving that a good mash with a fork. After that, I'm adding some scoops of hummus and topping it off with paprika, red pepper flakes, and salt. And that's it! To add more sustenance to this meal, I had some leftover peanut miso soup from last night, which I added more veggies, tofu, and noodles to. Here's another lunch idea, or dinner. Either way works. It was supposed to be more of a dinner idea, but my recipe kind of failed. So this is the tofu kani salad I made on a different day for lunch. I saw this recipe on YouTube and I'll link the video below. I'm using this grater to grate some firm tofu that I pressed. To the grated tofu, I'm adding Greek yogurt, soy sauce, salt, gochujang, and sesame oil. Then I'm giving that a good mix. Now onto the veggies. I chopped some carrots, which I then used a cookie cutter to shape into flowers. Because what is life without cute food? I also cut some cucumbers, an avocado, and heated up some frozen edamame. For plating, I started with some brown and white mixed rice, then added the veggies, the kani salad, the avocado, and finally the edamame. To be honest, not super pleased with how this turned out because my kani salad was too soggy, so I didn't like the texture. Would definitely try this again with extra firm tofu though. So that is all for today's recipes. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching and I hope you give these recipes a try. Let me know if there's any recipes you'd like me to try. See you all soon!